My name is Marvin. For all of you that don't know me, I'm 20 years old. I'm a college student, and let me just kind of give you guys my background and stuff. When I was born, the doctors diagnosed me with a disease called cystic fibrosis. And what this disease does, it basically destroys almost every organ in your body. It clogs up your lungs, your liver, your pancreas. It weakens your bones. Well, for guys, we can't have kids, so that's another thing that's kind of bad. But the thing about my story is that many times throughout my life, once when I was 4, once when I was 7, once when I was 12, and when I was 16, the doctors told me, yeah, there's no hope for you. You're gonna die. This is your cutoff date. So when I was born, the doctors kind of just took my parents into the office and said, hey, don't expect your kids to live past 4 years old, because right now that's all we can offer you. You know, I mean, what kind of man or what kind of person, what kind of parent wants to hear that their child has basically is just going to live and die? That's it. You know, not even be able to experience life. And you know, that kind of, I feel that through all that, it kind of just boosted my parents' desire to worship God, because, you know, medicine tells you one thing, but we believe in a God that can do great things and can go against what science tells you. You know, so when I was about 7 years old, my problems really just started to overwhelm me. If most of you don't know, right now, you guys all, if you guys don't have breathing problems, you guys have a lung function of about 100%. And basically, what it does is that it lowers my lung function, so my lungs are not as strong as yours. And basically, for me, my lung function has never functioned above 40%. So, yeah, that's pretty bad. That's the best it's been ever. So, throughout my life, I kind of went through all that. But when I was 7 years old, my lungs ended up growing a fungus. And the doctors told my parents, you know, he's 7 years old, he only weighs about 40 pounds. Good luck. You know, the average weight of a 7-year-old is what, like 60, 70? And I was 40, you know? So the doctor said, you know, he needs an operation that, you know, he could possibly die on the table if we aren't able to get it, but he needs to be above a certain weight. So the doctor started the first procedure in which, I'll show you guys. I have a tube in my stomach, so it kind of feeds me. I can eat normally, but that feeds me throughout the night, and it kind of helps me gain weight. And so that was the first step of the process. And the doctors basically told my mom, hey, you know what? He's got 2 weeks. He needs the surgery, and if he doesn't get it, he's got 2 weeks. Thankfully, I went beyond that, and I was able to gain the weight, and we got the first surgery. I'll show you all my scars, but I don't think we have time for that. So, you know, for me, a 7-year-old, what's a 7-year-old thinking? Oh, what am I going to have for lunch today? Who am I going to see tomorrow? I'm going to go hang out with my friends. For me, the realization of death came instantly. For me, if you know me, I hate kids, little ones, because I'm envious of them, because I had my childhood torn away from me. I never was able to go to sleepovers because of the fear that what happens if my lungs just completely fail me. You know, I never got to go to camps. I never got to do all the opportunities, you know. I never started playing sport until I was about 14, 12, around there. So, you know, my childhood was basically torn apart for me. And you know, through that, I kind of feel like my strength relied completely on God. You know, and that kind of strengthened my parents' walk with God as well. And when I was about, well, I got the surgery, and as you can see, I'm still alive. So I got the surgery, and my lung functions immediately shot up. They started going better until I was about 11, and the doctors decided, hey, you want to go for school? Why not? If he's just gonna, you know, he's in good health right now, and if he's gonna die anyways, let's just give him the best we can right now. So I started going back to school, and you know, growing up as a teenager, you're ridiculed a lot. And since I was a lot smaller, I was picked on and stuff like that. But for me, that wasn't my struggle. It was mainly because of my health. And you know, the doctors, they let me go to school. And after I started school, my lungs functions started going down. My health completely shot. was getting shot, and my lung percentage was at 32. Okay, and this kind of again woke my mind up and saying, "Oh my gosh, you can possibly die at any moment now." And I remember throughout the span of 3 years, there would be times where at night I would be in bed by 10, but I couldn't fall asleep until 2 because I would just have an anxiety thinking, "Is this my last breath? Is this my last breath? Is this my last breath?" I remember many times throughout many years where I would literally cry myself to sleep because I was so scared that that was going to be my last breath. And just the gravity of the situation, it was just pulling me down and keeping me from reaching my goals and ultimately desiring anything in life. But I went through high school and I started sports, so that kind of jumped up my health. And once I got into college, my lungs they're all right. They're not great, but when I was in college, I started playing college baseball and stuff like that, and it kind of took my mind off it. But once I realized that my health again started failing me, I completely turned to the wrong thing. I started drinking. I started partying every weekend. I started doing all this and that, and I kind of ended up hitting the spot where I was so frustrated with my health and with what was going on in my life that I completely walked away from God. I thought to myself, hey, if I'm just going to die pretty soon, why not go and have my fun? A lot of people in my age are thinking, oh, what am I going to do for a career? For me, I can't think like that. I can't really go beyond, at least my mind. I can't really grasp, will I ever get married? Will I have kids? That's a no. But for me, the situation is so realistic that it allows me to really appreciate everything that's going on in life. Think about when you guys wake up, what's the first thought you guys have? Dang, the alarm. Dang, I gotta go to school. Throughout all my situations, I kind of developed the mindset of, God, thank you for another day. Because for me, I could drop dead right now. Usually when a patient that has what I have is in their last options, they usually tell them, hey, you need a transplant because your lungs are so bad that they can't do anything for you anymore. And a couple months ago, the doctor sat me down and said, hey, you need a transplant. So that kind of woke me up, and it was like, oh my gosh, am I that near to the end of my life that I gotta, I really can't explain it. But I come to the realization that throughout all my life, I realized that God is the one that ultimately sustained me, and this is nothing I haven't heard before. And God has pulled me out of the fire once, and I don't know if He's going to do it this time, but I believe that He's going to do what's in His will, what's in His power. Singing up here, I'll be honest, one of the first things that comes to my mind every time I'm at church is, oh my God, are my lungs going to be able to handle the singing? Because for me it's hard to take a deep breath. If you guys can't, just take a deep breath. Yeah, I can't do that. I can go probably halfway, I give out. So kind of just taught me to trust the Lord and everything that He's doing. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." And Proverbs 3:5 says, "Put your trust in God and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." And I feel like if I put my life in God's hands, He's going to take me as far as I can go. Because in my life, I didn't even think that I was going to live to be 14. But look at me now, I'm 20. I have a career choice, and I'm following it. One of the greatest thrills I get is playing up here, but not to play for you guys, but to worship God. You guys are young, you guys have all your life ahead of you. You guys have all the abilities in the world, take advantage of that. Because sooner or later, it's going to be gone, and you're going to be thinking, oh man, what could I have done? But you got to realize that everything that you do has to be in accordance with what God wants you to do. Because if you do things according to your plan, I can guarantee you that 100% of the time, it's going to fail. But if you go by God's plan, then everything is going to go right. It may not be the way you want it, but everything is going to go right. And I hope that through my story, it kind of just shows you that, you can live with limitations, but the reason why limits are there is so that God can show His glory through you, So, thank you guys.
One of the things that Marvin didn't mention is that because you have cystic fibrosis, you need to do something every day, which is what?
I have to do certain medications, antibiotics, and aerosol treatments that take about 3 hours of my day, all in total.
So you have to do it in the morning?
As soon as I wake up, in the midday, and right before I go to sleep.
And your life revolves around this treatment, right?
If I don't do that, then good luck.
And every year you are forced to go into the hospital for at least how long?
At least for now, I've been averaging 2 a year, but I've done it all throughout my life. That I've been admitted 120 times throughout my life in the hospital. I have spent 6,224 days in the hospital, and I forgot the hours.
Marvin, if you know Marvin, he's very outgoing, and I thought I was the only one person that had happened to, but that Deb had mentioned the other day. The first time I actually saw Marvin doing the treatment, I don't know how he does it now. I'm sure technology has advanced. He's got this vest, and it's connected to a machine, and the vest is literally like a pump, and it's pumping his lungs, and you just hear it, and then he's got his machine into his mouth, this tube that throws kind of like fog, that it's helping his lungs. And you first see it and it trips you out, And you're like, is this guy doing some kind of weed or something, But then he looked at me, and I don't know if you've done this to everybody, and when I first saw him, he goes, does this scare you? and I said, man, look at this guy. Death is such a reality for him, and yet he's found the joy of the Lord to be able to trust Him and say, you know what, I don't know how far I'm going to make it, but as long as I'm alive, I'm going to serve the Lord. So thank you, Marvin. Thank you for your time.